Straight up, Purdy had 2 interceptions. Were they his fault, though?
Yeah.
Jury's out.
Yeah, the jury is out.
Yeah. Hit on the deciding play that ended the fourth quarter drive. Here's Purdy.
We just need to play better, and that starts with myself. Get down in the red zone. We got to execute and score touchdowns. I thought there was multiple times where we could have pulled away significantly in the first half. Again, that starts with myself. And so there's that. And then, second half when defense is getting stops, we can't just turn the ball right back over. I mean, that's pretty plain as day.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just in your glory. You're like Grant
No, I'm
Cohn
not.
of television.
What do you mean?
He is the Grant Cohn of television.
Well, maybe the Niners. Maybe the Niners should worry less about Grant Cohn doing locker room interviews and more about game planning for the Cardinals. And maybe you're not all of a sudden losing 10-point
Purdy the reason the 49ers lost.
Well, he certainly wasn't the reason they won, and they did. Here, listen. I'm not going to kill Brock Purdy. What I am going to say is there is an alarming trend, and I think that Purdy this year has played prior to this game pretty well.
You've been complimenting
but the Niners don't. Something's just not right. They just don't quite look like the same team without the full complement of the Avengers. And when it is on the heels of this quote, Brock told us what he wanted to do with big leads in the second half. This is not third hand. We can show the quote. I'll read it to you. He said, it's having that Tom Brady kind of feeling. Late in the game, it felt like Tom was going to take over and not make it close. Feel like I can get to that. I want to be dominant. And in this game with Tom Brady calling it, you saw him try to do some of these things. Ran around for 11 seconds one time, and turned the ball over, of course, as well. And so is it just yesterday? Well, I don't know. So we can show a couple stats of Purdy this year versus previous years and, a trend, which is how have the Niners done? Okay, well, that's not great. Leading by 10+ in his career, they were amazing, unbeatable. Got a little fresh new mentality if that's when we step on the throat. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you the timeline of events. We can also do the second half numbers, so Purdy leading in the second half career as a starter. Those were his numbers. Those are his numbers now, of course, without everyone. So they're all just interesting data points. And I don't put that whole loss on him. I do think if you block a kick for a touchdown and then pick off Kyler Murray and you're up 23-10 or whatever it was, you should probably put away the Arizona Cardinals. But you didn't, and it's a little concerning.
Purdy didn't have a good game, obviously.
Second straight.
But Jordan Mason, if he holds that football, what were they on the 8-yard line?
Yeah.
Driving to score, they could have went up 9. Instead, they end up being down 1. Yeah. So there's that. The defense made James Conner look like James Brown, as in Jim Brown. I mean, he was running through dudes. But I can't defend Purdy, though, this season, because I agree with you. I think he's played well this season for the most part. The biggest thing, though, and this does speak to McCaffrey, the red zone. That is, he's throwing good balls. They're marching down the field. They are 30th now in red zone efficiency, 41%. Yesterday, they were 16%. Last year, they were number 1. There you go, right there.
Yeah.
And so that's on somebody, but some of that's on Purdy.
How's it on Shanahan?
Some of that's on Shanahan.
Who was the coach last year? Wait, so
Brock Purdy was the quarterback.
I'll tell you how, Nick. You had McCaffrey and you were able to score in the red zone. Now you don't have him. Some of it's on Purdy. I'm not absolving him. But Kyle Shanahan's got to come up with some stuff. They got a good running back as far as running the football, and they still got good guys on the outside.
So the stuff that Kyle Shanahan comes up last year works, and the stuff that
I guess it works with McCaffrey.
Hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. I could call that one.
Or throw it, dump it off to him.
Yesterday, I can't put this on Brock. He owns some of it. He has to own some of it. He's a quarterback. He throws 2 interceptions. Like, they're not putting the ball in the end zone, in the red zone. But when you don't have your kicker, Jake Moody going down, no one wants to talk about it, but it's like I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that they shouldn't have blown the lead. Because defensively, you got a 10-point lead, sustain it. And they haven't been doing that all season long. But when you don't have your kicker, stylistically, you now have to play completely different.
Right.
You're going for it every time you have the ball, and so now you're pressing a little bit more. You're asking your quarterback, who is not Josh Allen, to do things that he ordinarily wouldn't do.
But he sometimes be running around like he thinks he's Josh Allen.
He got a little move.
He's actually been pretty decent.
I give him that. He's elusive, but I can't put this completely on Brock Purdy. He owns a lot of it, but not all.
All right, so here's the thing. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is coming back. I know that they, remember, he was probable for week 1. Then he missed it. Then he was in Germany. Then all of a sudden the tendonitis spread to the other leg. And so, in my opinion, I think maybe it's differing degrees. I know you're a kind of a Shanahan skeptic for some reason, but I think most people agree they have a very good head coach. Yeah. I think that most people agree, even without Christian McCaffrey, they have really good weapons. I think this year the offensive line's been better than it was last year, and Trent Williams is still there. If Brock Purdy's the guy that you guys have screamed at me that he is, they'll be fine.
I think Purdy's played better than those weapons you're talking about. I think he's been better. Ayuk just yesterday had a good game.
Ayuk can't throw it to himself.
Jennings has played well, but
Jennings
I'm saying,
been awesome
I
until
think
yesterday.
Purdy has played better.
I don't know. He's got Jordan Mason second in the league in running. Kittle's making all-star catches.
Game-losing fumble.
Okay, let's talk about this because they're all over the place. One, Shanahan does deserve some blame. I'm not putting all the blame on him, but yeah, it is a lot easier to have play designs and score in the red zone when you have Christian McCaffrey, right? Brock Purdy obviously deserves some blame for all of this, right? Because Shanahan is a brilliant coach and a top coach in the NFL, but his job was obviously easier with Christian McCaffrey. And so some of this is on Shanahan to figure out how to score red zone touchdowns when you don't have Christian McCaffrey. It's not like Brock Purdy gets in the red zone and then he suddenly can't throw or he just suddenly can't hit guys open. That's not the case that's happening. So yeah, that's why you can't blame it all on Purdy. So I wholeheartedly, reject like, oh, let's just, it worked last year with Christian McCaffrey and Shanahan, and now this year it doesn't. So therefore we can't blame Shanahan. Well, under that same logic, you can say, well, Brock Purdy was the quarterback last year and it worked fine. And now this year he's still the quarterback and now it's not working. So they use that as a way to automatically blame Purdy when, like, why not blame, say, Shanahan or someone else even, right? So that's what doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. The one interception was just bad luck, right? It was one of those tip balls that just literally touched the sky and it was intercepted. Purdy was going to lead them to what I believe to a game-tying or a game-winning field goal. Well, I guess, right, they don't even have a field goal kicker, so it would have been interesting, or, just a kicker. So, yeah, I think it would have been one of those situations where the 49ers would have put themselves in a better situation. There was enough time. They could have gotten it done, and I think Purdy is a good enough quarterback. These stats that Nick highlighted to me are always silly, like the one where it's when you don't have the lead versus when you have the lead. Obviously, you're going to be a better quarterback when you have the lead, okay? Right? When you're leading by 10, your things are going to be a lot better. Especially when you're just a better team. This year, right, like Purdy leading by 10 plus NFL career, right, first 19 games, 18-1. Right, well, that team was a better team than they are right now, okay? Right, so that's the way how some of these things are going to unfold. When you have missing pieces, you have people like Kittle in and out of the lineup, Debo out in the lineup, Christian McCaffrey not playing at all. So why are you expecting, like, what are you expecting Brock Purdy just to magically be able to do? And then he says, hey, Brock Purdy, if he's as good as you say he is, he should be able, this team should be good enough and he should overcome all of this. And it's like, okay, well, we know Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow are all unbelievable quarterbacks. Have they overcome their rosters? Have they overcome, have they been able to just win? Have they? Because I don't think so. That hasn't been the case right now. So, and they've all had bad games. They've all had bad stretches. I mean, Josh Allen, back-to-back games, box score has been not that magnificent. So again, this is the problem that I always have when we like kind of highlight Purdy. And Nick loves to always do this tongue-in-cheek. He's now referenced that Tom Brady quote multiple times. Like, Brock Purdy was just trying to say, like, this is who I aspire to be. This is who I want to be. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And Nick keeps kind of just like rubbing his nose in it. Like Brock Purdy shouldn't aspire to be a great quarterback or shouldn't be motivated to try to be the best that he can be. And I just think it's absurd at this point. And I think that, yeah, do you want to see Brock Purdy and the 49ers be better? Of course. But to me, this isn't a singular issue. It's not clear to me if there was a different quarterback outside of some sort of like hyper mobile quarterback who can also just book it and run it, right? Or someone who's like physically a beast and can barrel through people. It's not clear to me, and it's not fair to compare every quarterback to say a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, who are physical freaks. Like, that is what they are. They are physical freaks, and not everyone has that capability of being able to do that. So it's just like, is Dak Prescott going to be winning all these games with instead of Brock Purdy with the 49ers? I don't think so. And yet, you know, Nick Wright sings his praises and says that he should be the MVP, you know, last year instead of Brock Purdy. So again, it's like, where are we being consistent with this evaluation? I don't think it's ever fair to compare another quarterback to someone who I just said was, you know, is a physical freak, who is just, you know, next level. It's just like, what are we supposed to do with that? But I think what Brock Purdy offers his team is clearly great. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, all this blame can't go on to him, quite frankly. It just can't. And that's really what Greg was also talking about, where it's like, yeah, he deserves some blame, but to act like he's the reason, to even pose this question, Purdy reason for 49ers loss, it's just kind of absurd, quite frankly. I mean, it is. I mean, it's just not entirely fair. And again, it's one thing if Brock Purdy was just throwing the ball, right? Like he was Anthony Richardson and was just throwing the ball over everyone's head and was just missing easy layups and was just having terrible reads. Then yeah, but then Brock Purdy is a reason for the loss. But right now, the defense is just not as good as it has been in the past. That's a huge reason, right? And also, the offense right now is a little bit disjointed, and it's not because of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is actually doing everything he can in his physical, you know, toolbox that he can do. That's why he's been more mobile. That's why he's been running more. Like, he's actually doing the things that we talk about some of these other quarterbacks for doing, and he's actually doing it. He's laying it all out there and doing everything that he can. And so I don't think he necessarily deserves criticism for that. And again, it's not to say that this is a bad team or that this is even an average team. And I think that's always where that criticism comes back, because they say, well, he has an amazing coach. He has enough weapons. This team should be better than if Purdy's better. And it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe, but also there's no definite in that. They've had a few tough losses. The one loss had nothing to do with Brock Purdy. That was defense. You know, a couple of their losses, you can really blame defense. And a couple of the other games, again, he didn't really have many of his weapons. He had an Ayuk who was not ready to play, and no Kittle, no Debo, no Christian McCaffrey. So that whole stacked roster is not there in that moment. So it's an average defense and a non-stacked roster, and Brock Purdy is just apparently supposed to throw for 567 yards and 17 touchdowns. And it's like, that's always, to me, the unfair comparison. But in defense of all of that, I will say that is part of the problem when people start to say that a quarterback is the best in the league or top in the league, top 2, top 3, whatever the number may be. You are going to be hyper criticized week in and week out. It's just the way it is. And quite frankly, I don't even know if it anymore. It's even if you're a top quarterback. I think it's just if you're a quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray. If you're a popular team, if you're a popular player, you're going to get criticized. Kyler Murray doesn't get as much criticism because he's not popular. He's not popular relative to these other quarterbacks. He's not on a popular team relative to these other teams. So he's not talked about as much. But if you're popular, and if you're on a great team or a team that wins or a team that's popular, you are going to get criticized constantly by the media, by the fans, by anyone in between. So it just comes with the territory. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Brock Purdy and the 49ers? And is he the reason why they just don't look right? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.